The warning lights flashed red across every screen in the command center. Commander Jake Morrison stood perfectly still, watching the massive shapes appear on the radar. 12 alien ships, each one bigger than anything humanity had ever built. They came out of nowhere, appearing in space above Mars like ghosts becoming real. Jake had been a soldier for 15 years. He had fought in the colony wars. He had seen combat in zero gravity. He had watched friends die in the cold darkness of space, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and their new neighbors did not look friendly. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Kevin Barnes. His voice shook just a little. Kevin was young, only 23, and this was his first real assignment. "It's being translated automatically by their system." "Put it through," Jake ordered. The voice that filled the command center was cold and mechanical. "Primitive species of the third planet, you have been selected for integration into the Zathrian Empire. We have conquered 47 star systems. Resistance is pointless. You will serve us or you will die. You have 1 hour to respond." The transmission ended. Silence filled the room. Everyone looked at Jake, waiting for orders. He took a deep breath and opened a channel to Earth. Admiral Linda Hayes was in charge of all Earth's defense forces. She was 60 years old, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. When Jake's call came through, she was already watching the alien ships on her own screens. "I saw it, Commander," Linda said before Jake could speak. "They want us to surrender." "What are your orders, Admiral?" Linda looked at the alien ships for a long moment. She thought about her daughter on Earth. She thought about the billions of people who were living normal lives, not knowing that everything was about to change. She thought about every war humanity had ever fought, every time they had faced impossible odds. "Tell all ships to hold their positions," Linda said. "Do not fire first, but get everything ready. Every weapon, every defense, everything we have." "Yes, Admiral." Linda closed the channel and opened another one. This one went directly to the President. President Victoria Lane was in an emergency meeting with leaders from every nation on Earth. The room was full of shouting and fear. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to fight. Most were simply terrified. Silence. Victoria's voice cut through the noise. She was a former general herself, and when she gave an order, people listened. "We have 1 hour to give them an answer. We need to decide now." "We should negotiate," said the ambassador from China. "Perhaps we can reach an agreement." "There is no negotiation," Victoria said. "They called us primitive. They said we will serve or die. Those are not the words of someone who wants to talk." "But we cannot win," said the representative from Russia. "Look at their ships. They are too powerful." Victoria walked to the window and looked out at the city below. People were walking, talking, living. They did not know that alien ships were hovering above Mars. They did not know that their entire world was about to change. "Throughout our history, we have faced extinction," Victoria said quietly. "We have faced ice ages, plagues, wars that killed millions. We have faced tyrants and monsters and impossible odds, and we are still here." She turned back to face the room. "Send them our response. Tell them we do not kneel." Captain Ryan Cooper received the message on his ship, the Valiant. He was stationed near Jupiter with a carrier group, 30 ships under his command, all waiting for orders. When he read the President's response, he smiled. "Crew, this is the captain," Ryan said over the ship's intercom. "We have visitors. They are not friendly. They think we're going to roll over and give up. They're about to learn something about humanity. Battle stations. This is not a drill." The crew of the Valiant moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this. Not for aliens specifically, but for war. Humanity had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They knew how to prepare. They knew how to fight. They knew how to survive. Down on Earth, in a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Colonel Amy Foster was coordinating the defense grid. Amy was responsible for every weapon platform, every hidden missile battery, every secret defense that humanity had built in the last 50 years. "They think we're primitive," Amy said to her team. "They think we'll be easy. Let them think that." The Zathrian fleet began moving toward Earth. Their commander, Overlord Thekmor, was confident. He had conquered dozens of species. This would be no different. The humans would fight at first, then surrender when they realized how hopeless it was. They always did. Thekmor looked at the scans of Earth, a beautiful planet rich with resources. The humans had barely explored their own solar system. They had no colonies beyond their moon and Mars. Their ships were slow and primitive. This would be over quickly. Prepare the integration teams, Thekmore ordered. We will need administrators for the new slave populations. Select the strongest humans for labor, the intelligent ones for technical work. The rest will be processed as needed. His officers moved to obey. None of them questioned the orders. This was how the Zathrian Empire worked. They took what they wanted. They had the power, so they had the right. But Thekmore made one critical mistake. He assumed that technological superiority meant victory. He assumed that because humans had less advanced ships, they would be easy to defeat. He did not understand that humanity had spent thousands of years learning one lesson very well: how to kill things that were bigger and stronger than they were. On Earth, Jake Morrison pulled up the tactical display. The alien ships were passing Mars now. They would reach Earth in 6 hours. 6 hours to prepare for the most important battle in human history. Get me all squadron leaders, Jake ordered. We need to coordinate the attack. Attack, sir? Kevin looked surprised. I thought we were defending. Jake smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. The best defense is a good offense, Lieutenant. These aliens are about to learn that the hard way. Around the solar system, human ships began moving into position. They did not run. They did not hide. They prepared. Every captain, every pilot, every soldier knew what was at stake. This was not just another battle. This was the battle that would decide if humanity remained free or became slaves. The hour ended. The Zathrians received humanity's response. It was simple, just 3 words. We do not kneel. Overlord Thekmore read the message and laughed. Foolish humans. They would learn. They would all learn. But as the Zathrian fleet moved deeper into the solar system, none of them noticed the subtle changes happening around them. Human ships were not retreating. They were positioning. Weapons platforms that had seemed inactive were slowly coming online. Hidden bases on asteroids and moons were preparing to fire. Humanity was ready. The trap was set. And the Zathrians were flying right into it. The Zathrian fleet moved through space like a dark wave. Overlord Thekmore watched the human ships on his display. They were pulling back, retreating toward Earth. Perfect. The humans were scared just as he expected. They would make their last stand at their homeworld and then it would be over. All ships maintain formation, Thekmore ordered. Stay alert for any tricks. These humans are primitive, but even primitive species can be dangerous when cornered. His second officer nodded. Our shields are at full power. Their weapons cannot penetrate them. We have already analyzed their technology. It is centuries behind ours. Thekmore relaxed in his command chair. This would be easier than he thought. He was very, very wrong. On the moon, Colonel Amy Foster watched the alien ships approach. She had spent her entire career preparing for war. Her father had been a general. Her mother had been a combat pilot. War was in her blood, and she was very good at it. Mark their positions, Amy said calmly. Wait for my signal. Nobody fires until I give the order. Around her, dozens of officers worked at their stations. They controlled the moon's hidden defenses. Missile batteries buried under the surface, railguns disguised as mining equipment, nuclear weapons hidden in storage facilities. The moon was not just a base. It was a fortress, and the aliens had no idea. Lieutenant Kevin Barnes was at his station, hands shaking slightly. Colonel, they're getting close. If we wait too long, we wait, Amy said firmly. Patience wins battles, Lieutenant. Remember that. The Zathrian fleet passed Mars. They moved through the asteroid belt. Human ships continued to retreat, staying just out of weapon range. To the aliens, it looked like fear. To Amy, it was a carefully planned strategy. Captain Ryan Cooper brought the Valiant around the far side of Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. His ship was hidden in the shadow of the massive moon, invisible to the alien sensors. 30 other ships did the same thing throughout the solar system. They used moons, asteroids, and planets as cover. They went silent, shutting down all systems except life support. How long do we wait, Captain? Asked his first officer, Lieutenant Patricia Grant. Until they're in position, Ryan said. Until they think they've won. Patricia was young but brilliant. She had graduated top of her class at the academy. Sir, what if this doesn't work? What if our weapons really are too weak? Ryan looked at her seriously. Then we die fighting. But I don't plan on dying today. The Zathrian fleet reached Earth's orbit. Overlord Thekmore smiled. The human ships were clustered around their planet. A defensive formation. Exactly what he expected. Predictable and weak. All ships prepare to fire, Thekmore ordered. We will destroy half their fleet, then offer surrender terms again. Sometimes primitives need a demonstration of power. But before he could give the order to fire, Admiral Linda Hayes gave her own order, 3 simple words that changed everything. Execute Broken Arrow. Everything happened at once. The human ships that had been retreating suddenly accelerated forward, but they did not charge straight at the aliens. Instead, they split apart, moving in dozens of different directions. Some went up, some went down, some looped around. It was chaos, but it was planned chaos. The moon's surface erupted. Hundreds of missiles launched from hidden silos. Railgun platforms that had looked like normal buildings suddenly opened fire. Nuclear warheads streaked through space on trajectories calculated to perfection. From behind Europa, the Valiant and its group appeared. They fired everything they had at the nearest alien ship. Missiles, lasers, kinetic weapons. The aliens' shields held, but they were focused on the wrong direction, because that was when the real attack came. Commander Jake Morrison led a squadron of small fighters. They were tiny compared to the alien dreadnoughts, no bigger than buses. The aliens had ignored them, thinking they were too small to matter. That was their second mistake. Jake's fighters were damaged on purpose. Their cooling systems leaked, making them show up hot on sensors. To the Zathrians, they looked like ships that were failing, about to explode. So the alien point defense systems ignored them. Big mistake. All fighters arm warheads, Jake said calmly. We only get one shot at this. Each fighter carried a fusion warhead. Not big enough to destroy a dreadnought, but big enough to overload a shield generator if detonated at exactly the right spot. And Jake knew exactly where that spot was because human intelligence had been studying every piece of alien technology they could scan for the past 6 hours. On my mark, Jake said. 3, 2, 1, mark! 12 fighters rammed into 12 different points on the alien shields. The fusion warheads detonated. The aliens' shields flickered and died. For exactly 15 seconds, the dreadnoughts were vulnerable. 15 seconds was all humanity needed. The missiles from the moon arrived first. Without shields, they punched through the alien hull like paper. Explosions ripped through 3 dreadnoughts. They did not destroy the ships completely, but they crippled them. The railgun rounds arrived next. These were not explosive. They were just metal, accelerated to incredible speeds. When they hit the unshielded alien ships, they went straight through, punching holes from one side to the other. Then came the nuclear weapons. They detonated around the alien fleet, and without shields to protect them, the radiation and heat did terrible damage. In 90 seconds, 3 alien dreadnoughts were destroyed. 2 more were crippled and drifting. The rest were damaged and confused. Overlord Thekmore could not believe what was happening. Impossible. How did they know where our shield generators were? How did they coordinate all of this? His tactical officer was frantically trying to restore order. Sir, we're receiving damage reports from all ships. They hit us everywhere at once. They used the terrain. They used deception. They used suicide attacks. This is not how primitives fight. Return fire, Thekmore screamed. Destroy them all. But the human ships were not where the Zathrians expected. They had already moved, already changed positions. When the aliens fired their massive weapons, they hit empty space. The humans had predicted where the aliens would shoot and simply were not there anymore. Colonel Amy Foster watched the battle from the moon with satisfaction. Second wave launch now. Target the damaged ships first. Do not let them recover. More missiles flew from the moon. More railgun rounds. The Zathrians tried to return fire, but their targeting systems could not keep up. The humans moved too fast, changed direction too quickly, used too much deception. Captain Ryan Cooper brought the Valiant in close to a crippled dreadnought. All weapons concentrated fire on their engine section. Let's make sure they cannot run away. The Valiant's guns opened fire. Lasers cut through damaged armor. Missiles found weak points. The alien dreadnought's engines exploded in a brilliant flash. Lieutenant Patricia Grant was monitoring the alien communications. Captain, I'm picking up their emergency broadcasts. They're calling for reinforcements. They're telling their command that we're not what they expected. Ryan smiled grimly. Good, let them be afraid. Let them tell everyone. Humans do not surrender. The battle raged for 2 more hours. The Zathrians fought back hard. They destroyed some human ships. They killed hundreds of human soldiers. But for every human ship they destroyed, they lost 2 of their own. The momentum had shifted, and it was not shifting back. Overlord Thekmor finally gave the order he never thought he would give. All ships retreat. Pull back beyond Mars, we need to regroup. The surviving Zathrian ships turned and ran. The human fleet did not pursue. They had won this battle, but they were exhausted. Ships were damaged. Ammunition was low. People were injured. Admiral Linda Hayes opened a channel to all human forces. "This is Hayes. Excellent work, everyone. We hurt them badly, but this is not over. They will come back with more ships. We need to prepare for round 2. On the moon, Amy Foster was already working on new strategies. They know our tactics now. Next time will be harder. We need to be smarter. Commander Jake Morrison floated in space, his fighter destroyed but his emergency pod intact. He had survived the ramming attack by ejecting at the last second. A rescue ship was on its way. As he waited, he looked at Earth hanging in the black sky. Still blue, still green, still free. This is just the beginning, Jake said to himself. But we showed them. We showed them that humanity does not give up. The damaged Zathrian fleet regrouped beyond Mars. Overlord Thekmor stared at his tactical display in disbelief. He had started with 12 dreadnoughts. Now he had 7 that were still functional. 5 were completely destroyed or so damaged they were useless. Over 3,000 Zathrian warriors were dead. Send another message to High Command, Thekmor ordered. His voice was tight with anger and shame. Tell them we need reinforcements immediately. The humans are not what we thought. They fight without honor. They use tricks and deception. His communications officer hesitated. Sir, High Command has already responded to your first message. They said we have enough forces to complete the mission. They said that failure is not acceptable. Thekmor felt cold fear in his stomach. The High Command did not tolerate failure. If he could not conquer Earth, they would replace him. Or worse, they would execute him as an example. Then we attack again, Thekmor said. But this time we will be ready for their tricks. But the humans were not waiting. They were hunting. Lieutenant Patricia Grant piloted her small reconnaissance ship through the debris field where the battle had happened. Her ship was designed for stealth. It was covered in special materials that absorbed radar. Its engines ran cold and quiet. On sensors, it looked like just another piece of floating wreckage. Shadow 7 to Valiant, Patricia whispered into her radio. I'm approaching the alien fleet. Going silent now. She cut off all transmissions and drifted closer to the Zathrian ships. Her heart pounded in her chest. If they detected her, she was dead. Her small ship had no weapons, no shields, nothing to defend herself. She was a ghost, invisible but fragile. Patricia activated her scanning equipment. She needed information. She needed to know everything about these alien ships. Their shield frequencies, their weapon systems, their communication protocols. Every piece of data could save human lives. The scanner worked quietly, recording everything. Patricia watched the alien ships through her cockpit window. They were beautiful in a strange way, all smooth curves and glowing lights. But they were also terrifying. Each one could destroy a city with a single shot. After 30 minutes, her scanner beeped softly. It had found something important. The aliens used a specific frequency for their shields. If humans could match that frequency, their weapons would be much more effective. Got you, Patricia whispered. She carefully backed her ship away, moving slowly so the aliens would not notice. Once she was far enough away, she fired up her engines and raced back toward the human fleet. Captain Ryan Cooper was on the bridge of the Valiant when Patricia's data arrived. He immediately sent it to every ship in the fleet. Within minutes, human engineers were recalibrating their weapons. This is huge, said Ryan's tactical officer, Lieutenant Danny Mills. If we can penetrate their shields more easily, we can hurt them badly next time. We need more than that, Ryan said. We need to make them doubt everything. We need to get inside their heads. On Earth, deep in a secret research facility, Dr. Philip Carter was working on something even more important. Philip was a genius, a physicist who had published his first paper at age 16. Now he was 42, and he was about to change the war. Philip and his team had captured a Zathrian communication device from one of the destroyed ships. They had been studying it non-stop for 12 hours, and they had figured out how it worked. It uses quantum entanglement, Philip explained to President Victoria Lane over a video call. Their ships are all connected through a quantum network. It's faster than light, completely secure, or at least they think it is. Can we break into it? Victoria asked. Philip smiled. It was a tired smile, but also excited. Better than that. We can feed them false information. We can make their sensors show them things that are not there. We can make them think our ships are in places they are not. We can turn their own technology against them. How long until you can make it work? Give me 24 hours. You have 12. Get it done, Doctor. Philip and his team worked through the night. They drank coffee until their hands shook. They argued about equations and theories. They tested and failed and tested again. But slowly, carefully, they built something that had never existed before. A virus, but not for computers. A virus for quantum communications. Admiral Linda Hayes coordinated the overall strategy from her command center on the orbital station above Earth. She had not slept in 2 days. Her eyes were red and her back hurt, but she could not stop. Too many lives depended on her decisions. Colonel Foster, status report. Linda said into her communication system. Amy Foster's voice came back immediately. We're rebuilding our defenses on the moon. We used a lot of missiles in the first battle. We need time to bring up more from Earth. Time is something we might not have. The aliens could attack again at any moment. Then we'll fight with what we have, Admiral. Linda nodded, even though Amy could not see her. That was the human spirit. Fight with what you have. Never give up. Never surrender. Commander Jake Morrison had been rescued and was back on duty. His body was bruised and sore from the ejection, but he refused to rest. He was training new pilots, teaching them the tactics that had worked in the first battle. The aliens are bigger and stronger, Jake told a room full of young pilots. Their shields are better. Their weapons are more powerful. So how do we beat them? We're smarter, said one pilot, a young woman named Sergeant Nicole Price. Exactly, Jake said. We're smarter, we're more creative, and we're willing to do things they would never expect. The aliens fight by rules. They have formations and procedures. We throw away the rules. We do whatever works. Nicole raised her hand. Sir, is it true you rammed your ship into their shield generator? Jake smiled slightly. Yes, and I would do it again. Because sometimes the crazy plan is the only plan that works. Just make sure you have an ejection pod ready. The pilots laughed, but it was nervous laughter. They knew that many of them would die in the next battle. But they also knew they were fighting for something bigger than themselves. They were fighting for Earth, for humanity, for the right to be free. 20 hours after the first battle, Overlord Thekmore made his decision. We attack again. All ships prepare to move. This time we will not underestimate them. The Zathrian fleet began moving toward Earth once more, but this time they were cautious. They scanned constantly. They kept their shields at maximum. They expected tricks and traps. They were right to be worried. Dr. Philip Carter activated his quantum virus. The effect was not immediate. It spread slowly through the Zathrian network, invisible and undetectable. And then gradually it began to work. On the Zathrian flagship, sensors started showing strange readings. Human ships appeared on scanners, then disappeared. Asteroids seemed to move when they should not. Navigation showed safe routes that led into dangerous areas. What is happening? Thekmore demanded. Are our systems malfunctioning? I do not know, sir, his technical officer said. All diagnostics show everything is working normally. But the sensor data does not make sense. Thekmore felt a chill. The humans were doing something. He did not know what, but he knew it was intentional. They were making him doubt his own systems. Ignore the sensor anomalies, Thekmore ordered. Trust only visual confirmation. We continue the attack. But the virus was just getting started. Next, it affected the Zathrian weapons targeting systems. When they tried to lock onto human ships, the targeting computers would randomly switch to different targets. Sometimes they locked onto their own ships. Sometimes they locked onto empty space. The Zathrian fleet began to fall apart. Not physically, but mentally. The warriors were trained to trust their technology. Now the technology was betraying them. They did not know what was real and what was false. And that was when the human fleet attacked again. Admiral Linda Hayes watched the chaos in the alien fleet with grim satisfaction. All ships execute Plan Delta. Hit them while they're confused. The human fleet came from multiple directions just like before. But this time they knew the alien shield frequencies. This time their weapons were much more effective. And this time the aliens could not coordinate their defense because their systems were compromised. It was not a battle. It was a slaughter. Captain Ryan Cooper led the Valiant straight into the heart of the enemy formation. All weapons fire at will. Target their command ship. The Valiant's weapons tore into Overlord Thekmore's flagship. The shields held for a moment, then failed. Explosions rippled across the hull. Theckamore knew he was beaten. His fleet was destroyed, his warriors were dead or dying, and the humans were still coming. "Retreat," Theckamore screamed. All ships jumped to hyperspace. "Retreat now!" The surviving Zathrian ships turned and ran, but many of them could not. Their navigation systems were corrupted by the virus. They jumped to random coordinates. Some appeared inside asteroids and were destroyed instantly. Others jumped too far and ran out of fuel in deep space. Only 7 Zathrian ships made it back to their empire, 7 out of 42, and Overlord Theckamore knew his career was over. The Zathrian High Command did not accept failure. When Overlord Theckamore's report reached them, they responded with overwhelming force. 30 more dreadnoughts were dispatched to Earth. Along with them came carrier groups, planetary assault ships, and 10,000 elite warriors. The message to Theckamore was simple and brutal. Conquer the humans or do not return. The Empire does not tolerate weakness. Admiral Linda Hayes watched the new fleet approach on long-range scanners. Her face showed no emotion, but inside she felt cold fear. The first battle had been hard. The second had been desperate. This third battle looked impossible. "How many ships?" she asked quietly. 30 dreadnoughts, Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "plus 40 support vessels. They also have troop carriers. I think they're planning a ground invasion." Linda closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about her daughter who lived in New York. She thought about all the people on Earth who were trusting her to keep them safe. She thought about the hundreds of soldiers who had already died fighting these aliens. "Get me all commanders," Linda said. "We need a new plan." Within an hour, every ship captain and base commander was connected to a video conference. Linda looked at their faces on her screen. They were tired. They were scared. But they were ready to fight. "They've sent reinforcements," Linda said simply. "A lot of reinforcements. The odds just got much worse. But we're not done yet. We've beaten them twice. We can beat them again." "How, Admiral?" asked Colonel Amy Foster from the moon base. "We're running low on ammunition. Our ships are damaged. We need time to repair and rearm, and we don't have that time." "Then we don't fight them head-on," said Captain Ryan Cooper. "We use different tactics. We make them come to us, fight them on our terms," Commander Jake Morrison spoke up. "We need to hit their command ship. If we can take out their leadership, the rest might fall apart." "That ship will be heavily defended," said Lieutenant Patricia Grant. "Getting close to it will be nearly impossible." "Nearly impossible is not the same as impossible," Jake replied. "I'm volunteering to lead the mission." Linda looked at Jake's face on the screen. She saw determination there. She also saw acceptance. He knew it might be a one-way trip, but he was willing to go anyway. "Approved," Linda said. "Pick your team. You'll have whatever you need." Jake immediately thought of the best soldiers he knew. "I want Sergeant Nicole Price. She's the best zero-gravity combat specialist we have. And I need Lieutenant Danny Mills for technical support, plus 10 more special operations soldiers." "You'll have them," Linda promised. "The rest of us will keep the alien fleet busy. You just focus on that command ship." The plan was insane. It was dangerous. It was probably suicide. But it was also the kind of plan that might actually work, precisely because it was so crazy that the aliens would never expect it. Dr. Philip Carter was brought into the planning. "Can you keep the quantum virus running?" Linda asked him. "Can you keep their systems confused?" "Yes, but they'll adapt eventually," Philip said. "I can probably keep it working for a few hours, maybe a day. But they're not stupid. Once they figure out what we're doing, they'll shut down their quantum network completely. A day is all we need. Keep them blind and confused." The Zathrian fleet arrived in Earth's orbit 3 days later. This time they were much more careful. They scanned constantly. They kept their formation tight. They did not rush in like before. Overlord Theckamore was still in command, but barely. The High Command had made it clear that this was his last chance. He had been given overwhelming force. If he failed again, he would be executed. "Begin the bombardment," Theckamore ordered. "Destroy their moon base first. Then we will take Earth." The alien ships began firing at the moon. Massive energy beams lanced through space, but the moon's shields held. Colonel Amy Foster had used the last 3 days to reinforce every defense. The shields were powered by 3 fusion reactors buried deep underground. They could take a lot of punishment. "Return fire," Amy ordered calmly. "Let them waste their energy on our shields. We'll hit them when they're tired." The battle for the moon lasted 6 hours. The aliens threw everything at it. The shields flickered and dimmed but held, and while the aliens focused on the moon, they did not notice the small cargo pod that detached from a damaged freighter and began drifting toward their fleet. Inside that cargo pod were Jake Morrison and his team. They were cramped, uncomfortable, and scared, but they were also professionals. They had trained for impossible missions their entire careers. 6 hours until we reach the command ship, Jake whispered. Stay quiet. Stay still. If they scan us, we need to look like debris. Sergeant Nicole Price checked her weapons for the 10th time. She carried a plasma rifle, 3 grenades, and a combat knife. It was not much against an entire alien warship, but it was all they could bring without being detected. Sir, are you sure about this? Nicole asked quietly. We're going into that ship blind. We don't know the layout. We don't know how many aliens are inside. I'm not sure about anything, Jake admitted, but I'm sure that if we don't try, Earth loses. So we try. The cargo pod drifted closer to the Zathrian command ship. To the alien sensors, it looked like just another piece of wreckage from the earlier battles. They ignored it completely. Captain Ryan Cooper kept the main Zathrian fleet busy. The Valiant and 20 other ships were fighting a running battle, never staying in one place long enough to be hit by the aliens' heavy weapons. They were not trying to win. They were just trying to survive long enough for Jake's mission to succeed. How long do we need to hold out? Asked Lieutenant Patricia Grant. As long as it takes, Ryan said grimly. Even if we have to ram them with our own ships. The cargo pod finally reached the command ship. Jake used a plasma torch to cut through the outer hull. It took 20 minutes and every second felt like an hour. If the aliens detected them now, they were dead. Finally, the hull gave way. Jake and his team pulled themselves through the hole into the alien ship. They were in some kind of storage area. It was dark and empty. Seal the breach behind us, Jake ordered. Danny, can you access their computer system? Lieutenant Danny Mills pulled out a portable computer tablet. Give me a minute. His fingers flew across the screen. The quantum virus that Dr. Philip Carter had created was designed to cause chaos in the alien systems. But Danny needed something different. He needed information. I'm in, Danny whispered after 2 minutes. Their security is weak from the inside. I can see the ship's layout. The command center is 12 levels up. Mark the route, Jake said. Let's move. The team crept through the alien ship like ghosts. They moved slowly, carefully, checking every corner. Twice they saw Zathrian warriors and had to hide in side corridors. The aliens walked past without noticing. Their internal sensors must be affected by the virus, Nicole whispered. They don't know we're here. Good, Jake said. Let's keep it that way. It took them an hour to reach the command center. They could hear voices inside, speaking in the alien language. Jake looked at his team. They all nodded. They were ready, on 3, Jake whispered. 1, 2, 3, they burst through the door. The command center was full of Zathrians. Overlord Thekmore turned in surprise, reaching for his weapon. But he was too slow. Nicole shot first. Her plasma rifle took down 3 aliens in 2 seconds. The rest of Jake's team opened fire immediately. The battle was short and brutal. The humans had surprise on their side. The aliens had numbers but were not ready. 30 seconds later, it was over. Every alien in the command center was dead or wounded. Jake ran to the main console. Danny shut down their weapon systems. All of them. Danny worked frantically at the alien controls. I'm trying, but the interface is weird. Give me a minute. We don't have a minute, Jake said. Through the door, they could hear alarms and running footsteps. The aliens knew they were here now. Do what you can, then we blow the ship and get out. Wait, Nicole said. She was looking at one of the displays. This shows all their ships, their positions, their status, everything. Jake looked at the display and smiled. Transmit that data to Admiral Hayes. She can use it. Outside the command ship, Admiral Linda Hayes received the data transmission. She could not believe what she was seeing. The positions of every alien ship, their shield status, their ammunition levels, everything. All ships, new targets, Linda ordered. I'm sending you updated coordinates. Focus fire on the ships with weak shields. Take them down one at a time. The human fleet suddenly became 10 times more effective. They knew exactly where to shoot. They knew which ships were vulnerable. The battle turned in an instant. Inside the Zathrian command ship, alarms screamed. Jake Morrison and his team could hear alien warriors running through the corridors, getting closer every second. They had maybe 2 minutes before they were overwhelmed. Danny, are the charges set? Jake asked urgently. Lieutenant Danny Mills was placing explosive charges on the main computer systems. Almost done. 30 seconds. Sergeant Nicole Price stood by the door, weapon ready. We've got company. I can hear them right outside. The door exploded inward. Zathrian warriors poured through, weapons firing. Nicole shot back, her plasma rifle lighting up the darkness. 2 aliens fell, then 3, but more kept coming. Danny, we need to go now. Jake shouted. Charges are set. 10-second delay. Danny pressed the detonator and ran for the escape route they had marked earlier. The team fought their way back through the corridors. It was chaos. Aliens were everywhere, confused and angry. The humans moved fast, shooting as they went. They left a trail of bodies behind them. Left here, Danny shouted, checking his tablet. The hangar bay is 50 meters ahead. They burst into the hangar and found their salvation. A small alien shuttlecraft fueled and ready. Can you fly this thing? Jake asked Danny. I can fly anything, Danny said with more confidence than he felt. He jumped into the pilot's seat and started pressing buttons. The engines roared to life. The team piled into the shuttle. Behind them, Zathrian warriors appeared in the hangar entrance. Nicole fired one last burst to keep them back, then dove into the shuttle. Go, go, go! Danny launched the shuttle just as the explosives detonated. The entire command ship shook. Systems failed. Lights went out. The artificial gravity cut off, and Zathrians floated helplessly in the corridors. Admiral Linda Hayes watched the alien command ship die on her tactical display. It lost power, drifted, and then exploded as its reactor overloaded. She felt no joy, only relief. All ships, the enemy command is destroyed, Linda broadcast. Press the attack. Do not let them regroup. The Zathrian fleet fell apart without leadership. Some ships tried to retreat. Others fought on alone. A few even tried to surrender. The human fleet showed no mercy to those who fought, but they accepted the surrenders. Captain Ryan Cooper brought the Valiant alongside a surrendering Zathrian cruiser. Boarding teams secure that ship. I want prisoners for questioning. Lieutenant Patricia Grant led the boarding party. When they entered the alien ship, they found the crew terrified. These were not warriors. They were engineers, technicians, support staff. They had never expected to face humans in combat. Take them into custody, Patricia ordered. Treat them according to the Geneva Conventions. They're prisoners of war now, not targets. One of the Zathrians, a young officer, looked at Patricia with confusion. You spare us? After we came to enslave you? We're human, Patricia said simply. We fight when we have to, but we're not monsters. The battle lasted another 3 hours. By the end, the Zathrian fleet was destroyed. 7 ships managed to escape into hyperspace. The rest were captured or destroyed. Over 10,000 alien warriors were dead. 2,000 more were prisoners. Earth had won, but the cost was high. 15 human ships were destroyed. Over 1,000 soldiers and sailors were dead. Many more were wounded. It was the bloodiest day in human history. Jake Morrison's team made it back to the Valiant. They were exhausted, injured, but alive. Nicole had been shot in the leg. Danny had burns on his arms. Jake himself could barely stand. But they had done it. They had struck the killing blow. You're all getting medals, Ryan told them. Every single one of you. Just give us a hot meal and a bed, Jake said tiredly. We can worry about medals later. President Victoria Lane addressed the Earth from the White House. Every television, every computer, every phone showed her face. Today, humanity faced its greatest test. We were attacked by an empire that has conquered 47 worlds. They came to enslave us. They thought we would be easy prey. Victoria paused, letting her words sink in. They were wrong. We fought back. We used our intelligence, our courage, and our refusal to ever give up. We won, but this victory came at a great cost. Over 1,000 of our brothers and sisters gave their lives defending Earth. We will never forget them. The president's expression hardened. To anyone else in the galaxy who might be watching, we do not seek war. We want peace. But if you come to Earth as conquerors, you will leave in pieces. We will defend ourselves with everything we have. This is our promise and our warning. The broadcast ended. Around the world, people celebrated and mourned at the same time. They had survived, but they would never be the same. Admiral Linda Hayes oversaw the processing of alien prisoners. Overlord Thekmore was among them, captured when his escape pod was recovered. He looked at Linda with confusion and something like respect. Why? Thekmore asked through a translator. We came to enslave your people. We killed thousands. Why do you give us food and medical care? Why not execute us? Linda looked at the alien commander with tired eyes. Because that's not who we are. We fight like hell when we have to, but we don't become monsters to defeat monsters. That's what makes us different from you. Thekmore was quiet for a long time. I have conquered many worlds. I have seen many species, but I have never seen anything like humans. You are the most dangerous species I have ever encountered. Why? Because of our weapons? No, because you know when to stop fighting. Any species can destroy. Only a wise species knows when to show mercy. 6 months passed. Earth rebuilt. The damaged ships were repaired. The dead were honored. New defenses were constructed, stronger than before. Humanity knew that the Zathrian Empire might return. They needed to be ready. But something else happened too. A new ship appeared in Earth's orbit. It was not Zathrian. It was much larger, stranger, and it broadcast a message of peace. We are the Galactic Council, the message said. We represent 300 species across this region of space. We have heard about your conflict with the Zathrian Empire. We come to apologize and to offer friendship. President Victoria Lane met with the Council's ambassador in Geneva. The ambassador was an insect-like being called a Vrex. It had multiple arms and large compound eyes. It looked alien, but its manner was diplomatic. The Zathrians acted without Council approval, the ambassador explained. They were expelled from the Council 10 years ago for their aggressive expansion. We did not know they had attacked your world until after the battle. Please accept our apologies. Apologies are not enough, Victoria said firmly. Your council knew the Zathrians were conquering other species, and you did nothing. The Vrex ambassador's mandibles clicked nervously. You are correct. The council has been weak. We prefer negotiation over conflict, but we have learned from your example. Sometimes strength is necessary. What do you want from Earth? Victoria asked. We want you to join the council. As equals, not subjects. Your species has proven itself. You have the strength to defend yourselves and the wisdom to show mercy. These are rare qualities in the galaxy. Victoria considered this carefully. We will join your council, but on our terms. We will not be bound by rules that force us to be weak. We will maintain our military. We will defend ourselves if threatened. Agreed, the ambassador said immediately. The council needs members like humanity. Strong, independent, capable. Too long we have been passive. You can help us change that. 1 year after first contact, Captain Patricia Grant commanded Earth's first diplomatic mission to the Council's home station. Her ship left the solar system, carrying not weapons but representatives of humanity, scientists, diplomats, teachers, engineers. As Patricia's ship passed beyond Pluto, she looked back at the sun. Just a bright point of light now. Earth was invisible from this distance, but she knew it was there. Still blue, still green, still free. Navigation set course for the Council station, Patricia ordered. Let's show them what humanity can do. The age of human isolation was over. The Zathrians had tried to enslave humanity and failed. Instead, they had awakened something in humans that had always been there. The determination to survive, the refusal to surrender, the courage to face impossible odds. Humanity had claimed their place in the galaxy not through luck or mercy from others, but through their own strength. They had proven that they were not prey. They were not victims. They were survivors. They were warriors when they needed to be and peacemakers when they could be. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Earth was not a world to be conquered. It was a world to be respected. And humanity was a species that would never, ever give up. The stars were no longer unknown. They were the future, and humanity was ready to face that future, whatever it might bring. They had fought for their freedom and won. Now they would fight for their place among the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same again.